I thought about my skin the other day.
I'd like you to elaborate. What does that mean?
I thought about how our cells chose to be our cells, and what if one day they just decided to not do that anymore, and I just went poof into like. And I've been thinking about that, and then also that like there's always little bugs everywhere.
Yeah,
and that's
little
scares.
mites.
Yeah, I get really itchy when I think about it, and then I feel too tight in my own skin.
That's natural.
And then every time I'm uncomfortable now, my brother likes to do this thing where he goes, "Oh, is your skin uncomfortable? Maybe you should take it off." And he'll say that, and every single time I go, "I want to." Like, don't tempt me with a good time.
Okay, well, I understand the like existential, like our cells chose to be, but also the latter half of that little thought bubble was just not how it works.
Well,
Like you can't just
have you ever felt like
disappear.
you wanted to go? Okay, like you're at home.
Have you ever felt like? Did you think that? Do you ever feel like?
Do you ever and then you could and then do anything?
And then do you really? Continue.
No, that like I'll be at home, but I'm like, oh my god, I really want to go home right now. I get this like really like, oh, I really want to go home, but I saw this thing online that means I'm an alien. It means that I'm like I'm longing that like I'm longing to go home to a home I've never been, because like I have lived another life as like this other being.
I don't want to be. I don't want to come. I don't know what to say. I don't want to come across as closed-minded.
That or I'm a witch. I think it was like one of the two.
I don't think you're an alien. I think you just have a mental disorder.
You know, that's valid. No, that's a valid response.
I could be totally wrong.
No, I definitely have a mental disorder at some point.
No, we know that. I know that you know that we know that. What I mean is this specific alien feeling.
But like, what if?
It could be.
Yeah.
Again, I could be totally wrong.
But then they were talking about different kinds of aliens and of different, like, if you like certain things, that it's different. Like, okay, no. like how the aliens helped build the pyramids. Like, they were like, they've been here, and so we're just ancestors from them. I don't know. I went on the rabbit hole from that.
I can tell.
I don't know. Maybe I just haven't found my home yet. Yeah, I know. Well, welcome back to the Barely Holding On podcast. Thanks so much.
We've never done a cold open.
No, I like it.
Incredible.
Yeah. Anytime you want to talk about skin crawling,
wow.
I got you.
Wow. It's a lot to process right now. Okay. Well, new setup changed some dynamics between us, apparently. You felt very comfortable.
I know. I kind of like
No,
it.
I'm kidding. But we do have a new setup. If you're watching, you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
We are now on my couch instead of at my dining table.
Yeah.
And it's cozy. I see why people do podcasts on couch. So we'll see. Let us know if you like this. Comment, tell us, text us, whatever it is. Yell at us about it. Send an owl.
Send an email, because I'm still waiting on
Yeah, we
pet
haven't
pics,
gotten any
and I'm really
emails.
upset about it.
I know.
I'm just gonna start like hounding people for pet pics.
Send us an email.
Send me an email.
But yeah, new setup. So let us know what you think. And welcome back, as Ryan already said.
Yes.
So before we dive into things, I want to address what is going on right now in the world. We are obviously filming this before we release it. The day that we are filming this, it is the third day that the wildfires in Los Angeles County have been raging.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll let Ryan speak too on how she feels about it, but I think I can say for the both of us, as San Diego natives, both of us are, we empathize to an extent with what people who are evacuating and maybe not evacuating because they don't need to yet and hopefully won't need to are feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I personally was always fortunate when the fires in San Diego have happened. My house, my family's house that I lived in at the time, happened to always be like right in the middle of the safe zone, and so luckily we didn't ever have to evacuate. It got close a couple times, but we were okay. But and it doesn't matter because this isn't about me, but I just want to emphasize, if you or someone you know or love has been affected by the fires in LA, I am so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It is devastating and heartbreaking and
Scary.
so scary, for a multitude of reasons that we don't need to get into. We don't need to get into all of them, at least. Yeah. But I just wanted to take a moment and talk about that, or address it at least, because it's real and it's happening right now, and it's really terrifying. So my heart goes out to all of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been so emotional about it. You can hear it in my voice even right now, but I've cried a lot about it today, just seeing different footage and looking at how much the fires have spread and they're not contained and all of these things. And it's a lot. So, I hope you're safe. I hope the people you know and love are safe. There's a good chance anyone who's listening, there's a good chance you know somebody, especially if you're from Southern California. There's a good chance you know someone who lost something or everything in these fires. And I just can't wrap my head around that. So that's how I'm feeling. I want to leave you some space if you want to share.
Yeah, I mean, when we had the really big ones in San Diego, I think most of it was like rural. It was in like Julian and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so they were some of it was. There were different.
There's
areas,
been a lot.
Obviously.
There's been a lot of different fires.
A lot of fires. But I think for the most part, it hasn't really hit. I mean,
it's such a dense area in LA. Is wild.
It's the difference too between like the Palisades specifically.
Yeah,
are in and surrounded by a lot of wilderness and like the canyons and the hills there, and we have kind of similar communities here, but not as affluent ones. And so there's not as many homes there, and it just is. It's kind of similar but different.
Yeah, I have a cousin in LA, and the first thing I thought of, I was like, oh my gosh, like a lot of people when I was seeing them post, they're like, I don't know if they should leave, if they are supposed to leave prematurely, if they're supposed to just wait around, because everything like these spot fires are just popping up because of the winds. Ugh, I don't want. Yeah, I think you really talked about it pretty well. I don't want to. It's so scary.
Yeah. It's really scary.
I don't know.
And I think something that's frustrating, as we kind of see with any big event or happening or crisis or disaster right now, is there's a lot of misinformation that comes out really quickly because of social media. I mean, it's perpetuated by social media, but it's because of people or news or political leaders in the country, or just anyone that shares misinformation, and it can spread very quickly because we are all
when people want to point fingers rather than fix it.
Yeah, and it just there's
no
a lot
comment,
of things,
but
there's a lot of things that go into this, but I just want to call out too that I mean, even just in the last like 24 hours specifically, I have done the full like low to high, like summit to fucking valley of believing or like seeing something that was like, oh, that really sucks if that's fucking true.
Yeah.
And then seeing it be disproven like 8 hours later.
And I just never, you never know. So but at the end of the day, people are struggling, and that's hopefully, I mean, we'll try to find some resources or at least things to donate to.
I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking that, but I hadn't yet said to you that I will share some resources. I know that I've already shared some on my personal Instagram,
but we'll link some.
We'll share some and link some, and do what you can. Donate if you can. Do something if you're able.
Or check in with your family.
And at the very least, check in with people.
Yeah.
And just be fucking kind.
Oh,
you
I have
guys.
chills.
Just
it's crazy.
I can't tell you to have compassion, but I just hope that you fucking do. Like it's so insane that some people just don't. And it's a different conversation, but
about the museum, and people were freaking out about the museum. I'm like, there are people's homes first and foremost. I understand that there's art, and I understand
culture and art is important too,
how important it is, but also that's probably one of the safest places you can be, because it has double, like, the walls are reinforced. They have all these things in case of natural disasters. And it's these homes that are just
It's okay to be upset about all of it, but like I just specifically have seen people being so callous
because of the tax bracket or
that, or just like I've seen shit too about people from other parts of the country that maybe don't align with us politically that are like, well, this is what you voted for. And it's like, actually, it's fucking not. So we're just not going to get into that. And we're going to stop before I
get
the
world being mad.
Too far off the path of the conversation we're having. But anyways, point being, I hope you're safe. I hope you're okay.
Yeah.
I hope if you've lost things, you take the time to grieve and process. And that if you haven't, you take the time to just sit with the emotions anyways. Be grateful if you can, but if you're not if you can't find gratitude for anything right now, that's fucking okay too. It's a shitty time whether or not you have been impacted by these fires. It's a shitty time to sit and watch it. It's a shitty time to be involved in it and to have lost things from it. So however you're feeling, whichever part of it you play, wherever you are in it, just it's okay. It's okay. Okay, I'll get off my little soapbox.
It's okay. Yeah, what a way to start 2025.
Boop, boop. Yeah, what a fucking start to the year it's been.
Love this apocalypse looks weird. I don't like it.
It's giving 2020 a little bit. I just want to say that. We're going to skip right over it.
Okay.
Anyways.
Anyway,
media of the day.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'll go first.
I'm glad you read my facial expression.
No, I got it.
Still
I had to think
really
about it.
Decided. Maybe
I don't know why my brain took a second too, because I looked at you and I go, "Is she giving me a sign?" Okay.
Yeah.
So mine is brought to you by the beautiful world of book talk, because there's always something going on.
I learned so much from you.
It's a crazy.
I'm not on book talk.
It's the Wild West. It's pretty Wild West. If it
Wild West?
Okay, Wild West. If it included, well, there's also well, never mind. With like Shadow Daddies, it's very political right now. There's a lot of issues going on in the community about politics and like politics in books and everything like that. But what I want to talk to you about is Audible came out with this new ad.
Okay.
And it has this I don't know where they got the budget for this, because there are some there's like amazing stars in this, but they talk about the listening speed of which they would listen to a book. And well, they, for the most part, other than like Bowen Yang and like one other person, everyone's like, I listen to it in the intended speed. If you listen to it any faster, then you're a psychopath. And I'm like, first off, ableist.
I was just going to say.
That's disgusting. Also, half the time, well, if you want me to listen to normal speed, get better freaking readers. Because they talk so slow.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing other things, and if my brain wants to listen to it faster, or if I'm cramming for school, and sometimes I listen to books faster for if I need to like cram a bunch of info in. Also, you give me the option to change the speed.
Right.
So why are you shaming half of your readers? And if they're reading it, if they're listening to it faster, they're buying more books. So
that's true. That's a good point.
What are you doing?
This just seems, I mean, having almost no context, which I don't.
I don't want to link the ad because I'm mad at them, but just look it up on your own.
It just seems, from what you're telling me, like it just sounds like a huge marketing miss, because how...
Don't have
why
Glenn
would you
Powell insult me? That too. Anyway, sorry.
Well, it just seems like what's even the point of having an ad like that?
They're just, I don't know. I guess it's just a question.
Is it just like rage bait to get like fucking attention?
I don't, but the community is up in arms.
I mean,
people are canceling their subscriptions.
As they should be, kind of. I mean, like, look, canceling subscription is like a big reaction to that. And that's fine if you're going to have, like, I'm not saying it's an overreaction. It's a big reaction.
Well,
but
yeah.
Coming from like a marketing perspective, I just don't understand why it
was like a this or that kind of thing. But
to like,
I don't know.
Ostracize. Or like, here's the thing.
Whoever in marketing is getting fired.
Well, but that's what I mean is that like, if you came at it, if I'm on the Audible marketing team and we have this idea of like, oh, let's have a hot debate for this ad about like what listening speed, because that's obviously like people have very distinct opinions on that.
Yeah.
Sure, fine, whatever. But if you're getting feedback and you're doing the editing on the ad and you don't take a step back to go, how does this look to our average, like...
And I bet half those people don't even
listener.
listen to audiobooks. And I looked at Trixie Mattel insulted me to my face. Trixie Mattel was on there. And Glenn Powell and like some other, and Philippa was on. And I'm just like, why would you do this? Why?
That just seems like a really big miss for Audible.
I think Bowen was the only one who actually listens to it. Cause he's like, the sweet spot is 1.8. And because blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, see, you get it. I don't
like you
can have your opinion, but don't talk like. Don't.
I was just gonna say, like, I'm not saying to not share opinion, and like celebrities have opinions too, but it's a weird.
I'm just kidding.
I think it's a weird choice for a company to advertise their product. To have anyone being like that, it just seems like rage bait. But anyways, what do I know?
So it wasn't. Yeah, it's been a rough time. But I didn't see it. I just saw everyone reacting to it and like, what did they do? I'm like, I just resubscribed. I'm so confused. What's also hard is Audible has Audible exclusives. So there's only some audiobooks that are only on there that are high, like really popular books.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, I have a question. Do you think, I mean, I feel like I probably know the answer, but have you thought about if this ad would be garnering this much attention if social media didn't exist? And if people couldn't like duet with the fucking ad basically and like tell how they think about it
so
on TikTok.
Audible ads have been like up the wazoo. Okay. Would you mean like people's reactions? Like, well, I think people would individually be upset.
I think people, but I'm saying,
oh, sorry.
Do you think there would be as much discourse around the ad without TikTok and social media in general? Do you think there would be as big of a reaction from the book talk community, let's say just the book community in general, if TikTok didn't exist?
I think that they would have, that's so hard to say because it's like,
and I don't know if there's an answer.
I don't know if I'd be like, wow, did you see that ad?
Right.
But I think I'd be offended, but quietly. But that's a lot of things. I think like everyone has their soapbox now. But like,
I just think it's interesting, especially on the brink of like, will TikTok exist or not in a couple of weeks in the U.S.? But that's a different.
I'm gonna lose it.
There's no way for us to know what's gonna happen right now.
I don't.
No
it's like my own personal book club, so it's like I don't want.
I mean, it's a source of a lot of people's income too. But
that's a whole.
We said we were gonna talk about it. We talked about it a little bit, but anyways, different conversation. Okay, well,
what's your media?
My media.
I just like made myself upset.
I can tell.
I shouldn't have picked that. I need to start picking more like happy things.
I know,
for my media.
but it's fun to talk about the
like, let me complain about this
juicy
today.
Goss. Okay, my media of the day is really dumb and it's so brief, but it's just a fun little bright spot maybe. Okay, well, sorry, I should not call it a bright spot and then segue into it being things that took place at Jimmy Carter's funeral.
Well, yeah.
So, sad time. President Carter, his funeral was today. He lived a great life though. He was 100.
100? Whoa.
Yeah. He just turned 100 a couple months ago.
Oh, okay.
A month ago, something like that, somewhere recently. But you know, he was a president. He was a humanitarian, especially in the later parts of his life after he got out of office, I believe, if I'm correct. But anyways, his funeral was today. Obviously, all current living presidents gathered if they were alive, which is a weird way to put it. But anyways, we're gonna glaze right past that. So we have.
If they were able,
I believe it's 5 living presidents, which is rare. Actually, I learned. I think that in history, there's only been a few times where there's been that many.
Well, if we
alive
keep
at the
getting
same time.
them this old, then we're not gonna have many.
So, anyways, current living presidents would be Biden, obviously, Trump, Obama, George W, and Clinton. So they're all there and they're all seated towards the front, obviously. And it's just so silly because like there's all this like someone was like, it's like the Real Housewives of Washington, D.C. Because they're, we all know different dramas between all of them. And they all have their own fucking legacies with drama. And
I'll have to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah, they're just sitting there. And like, I think the Bidens and Kamala and Doug are seated in like the front, obviously their current administration. And then right behind Kamala and Doug are Trump, and Melania, Obama and Michelle, and actually, now that I think about it, I don't know that I saw Michelle in those videos, but beside the point. And then I think on the other side of Obama is sandwiched between Trump and Bush.
Okay.
And the Clintons are on the end. And it's just so silly. There were a couple of like funny little clips of like Kamala like watching Obama talk to Trump, but just like, you know, you just think about it in like a totally like different, like just gossipy kind of environment. It's funny objectively. But there's this one, I don't know why it tickled me so much this way, but there's this clip of George W. walking back to his seat. And in order to get back to his seat, Obama has to stand up and like let him go past.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like this quick 2-second clip. Obama stands up, George W. goes past him and just taps him on the stomach.
What?
Like they're like frat buddies. And I was like,
ew.
huh?
That's so
It's just weird.
What's up, bud?
It's so like inconsequential, like who cares? But I saw it and I was like, hold on, I want to watch it again because what's going on here?
I think the only thing better would be if he dabbed him up.
Yeah. Which yes. It was just like, it was very George W. of him, but also so weird at the same time. Like, why did you? I think it's just funny to see people that have like held such important, insane, worldly power.
Oh, 100. Mm-hmm.
Like,
just do something so
treat each
human.
other like fucking.
Yeah.
What? Like he's the fucking son next door.
It's the same energy of when. Oh my gosh, what movie was it? It was like at a premiere, and they thought that this one actor like spit on the other one when he went to walk by. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It was Chris Pine. For
Yeah.
Don't Worry, Darling.
Yes, but it gives the same energy. Oh, Harry Styles. Yeah, it gives the same energy of like, okay, when he goes to move,
spit
like,
on somebody. Yeah. It's just so it was just such an odd little moment, and I was like, oh, it was just. I think what it made me think was these are just people.
Ugh.
After their president, there's a president forever because there'll always be a former president, but like they're just a couple of guys that worked adjacently.
I would love an SNL sketch.
They had the same job at one point.
An SNL sketch of all of the like former presidents like together, or like they have to do some sort
SNL,
of like team bonding or like something.
I know Lauren's a big fan.
I mean, seeing them do like a theater activity, like a zip zap zop. Like something just like so random.
Oh yeah.
Or like the name game.
You know what? I wonder if we're predicting it because it's their 50th anniversary.
I would love it. I would love nothing more.
I'm sorry, I can't remember now, but one of the big anniversaries for SNL is coming up. Well, like it is this season is the anniversary, and they're doing the anniversary episode, I think in February. Don't quote me, but I think in February. And that would be really funny.
That would be great.
If they used that idea. If they use that idea,
like
we want compensation.
Yeah.
I think it would be funny.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Anyways, it's my quirky little weird little media.
But I love it.
Okay, Ryan, what topic are we diving into today?
Okay, so if you haven't been able to tell, I realized I was like sitting
here.
And you're like, we haven't addressed it. So we're talking about fandoms today. I'm in my Hogwarts regalia. Regalia? Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was crazy.
Is that not?
I just pulled that one out. Yeah.
English major.
She's in her Gryffindor robe and tie.
Yes. So fandoms address yours. Sorry. Me, I got all excited. I'm like, yeah. No.
So this sweatshirt, there's a lore behind it too, but this sweatshirt says property of the Maine emotional department, which arguably is a really odd thing to have on a sweatshirt, kind of like emotional obviously
just emo department.
Emo too, but it spells out emotional department over here. So the Maine is my favorite band of all time. I have favorites in other like genres and eras and whatever, but favorite band of all time. Their music has always felt like home for me. I've been a fan for 16 years. Whoa,
that's crazy.
15 years. A good fucking chunk of time, and the fact that they've been around for that long is crazy because not a lot of bands last that long anymore, like actively.
No, they adapt and everything.
They've never been on a hiatus, knock on fucking wood. And like they're still together. It's kind of a crazy thing for them to still be around so long and so many albums later. But anyways, this is one of their pieces of merch, and I will get into the lore behind this crew neck sweater later. That's a hint for you.
Ooh.
But Ryan, take it away.
Okay. So, as some people know, I do be reading. Hence,
You do be reading.
I do be reading. I read over 100 books last year.
I'm so impressed with you.
And what comes with having with books, you know, when you go and see an adaptation like the movie, and you're like, the book was better. Imagine that times a million when it comes to so many cooks in the kitchen of their ideas of how characters should look or be, or what the fandom is and the gatekeeping of it. I like to I like to read a lot of indie authors. So typically there kind of comes with this a little bit of hipster energy for some people of like, it has, I don't know, it just.
Well, and then again, combine that with like just the culture we have around social media now is like everyone needs to share their opinion on everything.
Yes.
And there's an entitlement there. So I imagine with.
And there's like always theories and someone knows something more than someone else. And I'm like, look,
that sounds exhausting.
I'll read the book. I've only reread one book from this whole experience, and that was Court of Thorns and Roses. And I started reading it and I go, I can't do this. I can't reread it, because as I started getting to the second book, I saw this fan theory. These freaking fan theories are driving me nuts, that one of the characters was evil. And then now, when I was reading it, I'm like, oh my God, he could be evil. And look, we're never going to get this sixth book of ACOTAR, I feel like. But when we do, if we do, I really want the villain era to happen for Rhysand. So with the book fandom, there has just been a small issue. So there's this one, well, I guess not small, pretty big actually, but I feel like it's an ongoing conversation that is going on within this specific fandom that is really driving me nuts. It's with this book series called Fourth Wing.
Okay.
And so it's 2 books are out so far, Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. And then Onyx Storm comes out on the 21st. Very excited. But with everyone doing rereads, everyone's recalculating kind of their ideas of what, and like visualization of the main character, Xaden. And this man, he's one of the top book boyfriends ever. I will say that. Yeah, sure, he's beautiful. He's great. We love him.
Okay.
But the issue is that there's just erasure of people of color within it, because he is described of having darker skin and yet constantly whitewashed within all the fan art. Even the author, when many an interview has discussed this, which she shouldn't have to, but I don't get why it's even a conversation. Yeah. And then it's always back and, well, this is how I picture him. What's wrong with that? And I'm like, what do you mean? So you're erasing it yourself. Yeah. Why can't you just have it as
you
having...
You picture someone a certain way when it's specifically mentioned.
The girl...
That they're a different... Like, what?
Violet spends like 20 million pages describing him and how beautiful he is and what he looks like. And yet you're going to say, oh, no, it must be a small part.
I think he's white.
Well, I think it. So he could just be tan. And I'm like, that's not how that works. And it's driving me nuts.
Do you think it's rooted in... I mean, my first thought is it's rooted in obviously like inherent racism, but just like a discomfort too,
I guess,
of imagining, like, if I don't know, I could be talking out of my ass, but it almost sounds like it's hard for me to imagine a main character is anything but white. So to me, they just seem like they're white.
Well, they're projecting of what they're projecting what maybe their partner looks like, or projecting what they would want in a partner, or like something completely different. And they're like, well, this is how I want to see him. I'm like, that's not then don't make fan art.
Right.
Keep that to yourself.
You're like hurting the story.
Yeah,
I think.
And just because you want to fit your boyfriend into this mold and have him wear fighting leathers, it's not the same thing. Like, ooh. They do
And
these
the 1-2
balls.
punch.
Oh, really fast, because I want to hear about the main and like your fandom within there. There's this thing that goes on in the book community. I'm getting so uncomfortable thinking about it. They do these things that are like balls. They'll do like a fantasy ball.
Oh, I was like, what do you mean?
No, they'll do like a
okay,
ball.
okay.
And it's a good time to go cosplay.
Oh, is this like? Oh, okay. I didn't know if
They'll
this
have
was
like cosplayers and actors,
imaginary?
and the way that these girls
Hold on, I just said imaginary. Imaginary is what I meant. Okay.
they'll get these actors to come and represent characters from
it's like
books.
A real,
no, they have a
like,
lot of
get
these
together?
events. Oh, they'll do
It's
them
like
in
a
like
real event.
okay, so there's one that's coming up like in a castle.
I don't know if
that's
this is like
fun.
we're doing like online like role play and like we're pretending to go to a ball with all these characters. Okay.
It'll be like in a ballroom at like a Hilton.
Yeah.
And
Look,
they'll do these, which is fine.
Yeah.
But
Clocked that.
But like but they'll have like these actors, which is like pretty well known cosplayers that will dress up as Rhysand.
Okay.
And the way that these girls thirst after these men, like they are actually the book character. I'm like, girl, get it together.
Not surprised.
And it's like I'm all for fun, but it just comes to a point where this is so overly saturated of having these balls that are just not good too, because some of them great, some of them pretty like they'll have like vendors, they'll have all this other stuff. And then I've heard about some that like they're not really getting
like
fed.
sex parties.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, that's not where you were going.
Well,
Okay,
no,
never
I'm
mind.
sure
No,
that they
continue,
do that.
continue.
No, I kind of want to. Maybe I'll go for science. Not for the sex party part. Wait.
Yeah, you might want to walk that one back. I thought you were going down a different path and you were talking about them not getting fed. So I'm going to let you continue that.
No, but maybe
thought.
they're getting fed in another way.
Hated that. Continue with your point, please.
No, it's just that I get it. Like I don't know. Maybe this is the first time I've been in a community that is
a little unhinged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just so unhinged.
I've been there. I'm seasoned.
I mean, like
not to the sex parties.
The book.
I just want to be clear. I just mean the unhinged part. I've seen it.
They like over-sexualize murderers. They over-sexualize hockey players that have families and lives and wives. It's scary out here. I'm like, I just like to read, and I don't need everyone to just be little horn dogs everywhere.
Yeah, unfortunately,
they're getting too comfortable.
I think it's. I have a lot of thoughts that I'm trying to parse through right now because part of me wants to say that like the over sexualization of, like you said, like hockey players or book characters or what have you. Some of that is just fandoms in general, but I think some of it too is, at least from what I've heard and like seen, I feel like some of it is specifically like book talk.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because there's so much imagination involved that people sometimes have a difficulty finding the line between my imagination and indulging in that on my own.
Yes.
And sharing that and like imposing it on other people. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, 100%.
And again, a lot of this I think comes back to the behaviors that aren't working.
Just write fan fiction and leave the real people alone.
Like, do what we used to do when we were in high school and middle school and just, like, keep it to your fucking self. Like, write the fanfic.
Write the
like,
fanfic.
Do online role-playing or something. But, like, stop imposing it on other people where you're making other people uncomfortable.
It's scary.
And, again, to your point, especially with, the hockey players thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes, we're, like, affecting, like, real people who have, to your point, families and wives and, like, life outside of this that has nothing to do with the books that they're obsessing over, and it just becomes this weird parasocial kind of a thing, which is a whole other. There's social media.
It's so hard too because like a big reason why I also read a lot of indie authors is because right now with publishing, with TikTok and the fandom, it's creating oversaturation in a really dangerous way of plagiarism as well. So there was just an article about how this one publisher had a client, didn't end up going through with the book, then took another client on, and basically that book from before was just recycled through this other author.
What?
And because
But then why not go through with the first author?
I don't know. It was a couple years later, and that wasn't, I guess, the market for it.
Oh.
But it was very similar
That's sketchy.
info. And I think also they're fitting into supply and demand of tropes where they're just cranking out stuff that just does not need to be written. And that's why I love reading indie authors, because, yeah, I do enjoy the similar tropes, and I will continue reading because ADHD, I need to know what's going to happen, and then I don't get too uncomfortable because I kind of like, okay, enemies to lovers, even though that this is going on right now, I know that kind of can figure out the outcome.
Tropes and archetypes are a part of all storytelling. It's a part of all art. So like you can't get away from that. That's fine.
Yeah. So,
okay.
It's just, there's a lot of discourse right now. It's kind of scary. I'm just going to read my little books and just kind of turn off TikTok for a little bit.
Well, it's just interesting because there's, especially with social media, and I know we keep saying that, but it's such a big part of fandoms at this point.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And
surveillance
it has been for
culture.
a while, but especially now, especially with TikTok, and especially with like just the obsessive culture that we have, because we think we're a lot closer to celebrities in particular. I'm talking mainly like music fandoms.
I feel like music is the biggest with that, honestly.
Well, because you have so much, and I'll start to speak on the specific fandom that I'm a part of, that this sweater I'm wearing is related to. But I think, especially when it comes to music or any celebrity, there's this illusion of closeness, this illusion of proximity, because we have social media and we can be connected to anyone in an instant if we choose to, or if they choose to. And I can't imagine being a celebrity in this day and age, because everyone thinks they are entitled to your daily life.
Yeah.
And that's being an influencer too. That's all sorts of things. It's not just A-list movie celebrities or music stars or what have you, but this whole parasocial culture is scary, as we've seen in many different instances, particularly with like female identifying pop stars, movie stars, any sort of celebrity or public figure. It in particular happens with, again, women identifying people, that people feel entitled to get their attention at all hours, all days. So it's kind of a different part of the conversation, but fandoms, generally music fandoms, we'll get back to that. This is going to sound a little culty, and that's kind of a running joke because it just maybe is a little bit, I don't know, maybe all fandoms are a little culty, but
oh my gosh, yeah, the Swifties and the BTS army or whatever the heck they are.
What?
Isn't it the army?
Oh, you said the PT.
Oh, BTS. They're coming back because they're almost done with war. Or not war, the army. I hope not war.
They're almost done with war.
Okay. They're almost done war.
Yeah. So again, the Maine is my favorite band of all time. I'm actually traveling to Arizona next week to see them live with a bunch of friends of mine that I have met through the fandom, which is great. So cool. They're real friends. Mom. It's actually funny because my mom has met several of them at this point, so she knows that they're real friends.
Okay, cool. She's like, you met these strangers?
I did, though. I did. And actually, one of my friends that I met through 8123. 8123 is the name of the community, but it's also their like record label at this point. But 8123 is the name of like the community and the fandom and everything surrounding the Maine, because when the band was a lot younger, they used to hang out at a parking garage next to a random building.
God, I love
outside
them.
Of Phoenix.
That's amazing.
And the address was 8123 of whatever street.
Of course it was.
And so that became like all encompassing. Everything that has to do with the Maine and their community and fans and everything we're all 8123. That's kind of part of their philosophy. And if you don't know,
we 8123.
So true. The Maine is one of the most crucial parts of them building their fan base has been that they have always done free meet and greets after almost every show, barring the pandemic, really, or if like the venue shuts down and they can't do one, whatever.
Yeah, I even met them after a show.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's right. But that's been such a big part of how they've built such a like loyal fan base, which I think is really interesting. But again, on the other hand, also contributes to the whole parasocial thing, because not only do we have proximity via social media, but even before social media was as big, we have proximity, and they take the time, which they don't have to do.
No, yeah.
But they take the time to really meet their fans and talk to them. And they recognize so many of us because we've been to so many shows. And whether or not they've met us after the shows or before the shows or whatever, they recognize us because they pay attention to that. And they're very active in the fan base and the community that they've built, which is really cool. But again, contributes to kind of this whole other problem of parasocial.
And that's their choice
that,
to do. And it's not something that should be expected or like owed.
Yeah. But again, over-sexualization.
They're just amazing for it.
Yeah, over-sexualization still happens. And what, 3-4 of the guys now are married, and
it was a sad day.
2 of them have...
Not like I ever had a chance.
What?
It's like one of those, I know, but like, you just love
but
watching.
Maybe we could have...
No, I just, like, obviously, like, that's also, I never had that, like, obsession over, like, a celebrity crush like that.
Wish I could say
now,
the same.
do I have that when it comes to like fictional men that don't exist?
Yeah.
Yes, which makes zero sense because they literally do not exist in the world.
It's a personality.
But because I'd also like I see a celebrity on TV and I go, let's see how tall he is, and I'm like, oh, just kidding.
Ugh, same. Tall girl problem.
I go, LOL, JK, not gonna happen.
Yeah, that's okay. But anyways, like a few of the guys are married at this point. A couple of them have children.
Oh,
and
so
they're
cute.
still just like, it's gotten a little better, I think, or maybe I just don't see it because I'm older and I'm not one of the younger fans who's like thirsting over these people. And not to say that you shouldn't thirst over celebrity. Do that all you wish. How do you think us One Direction fans existed for so long?
Oh, I have to ask you then.
But like thirst over in private.
Were you who were you? What am I asking?
Who was my favorite?
Yeah.
Direction. You know that One Direction that we talked about?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I've thought about this because I wasn't like a really super involved Directioner, but I did really like a lot of their music. Still do. Like honestly, it still slaps. Okay, let's be honest. But I wasn't like super into the fan base at the time that they were popular.
Like the Tumblr era?
Yeah, like I followed their music and I like engaged in some fan stuff kind of, but like I never saw them in concert. I never did like any of the crazy
so cool.
like I don't ever think I read fan fiction at all. Like that was not
No, me neither.
That wasn't
I'm really
like
bummed. I missed out.
The height
I wasn't
of,
into
the
it.
height of fucking fandoms. And honestly, fandoms really I would argue that the fandom culture that we know today really started with One Direction.
With the Harry Styles.
All of them. Just One Direction shit. I mean, like, and for good reason.
The Harry Styles one became movies. The fan fiction.
What?
Fan fiction of Harry Styles became movies.
What do you mean?
After the movie. What do you mean?
What do you mean?
It got adapted into movies.
What are you talking
from Harry
about?
Styles?
What fucking movie?
After. It's called After.
Oh, I was like,
no,
after what?
It's like when you watch the show You.
What?
You. What?
You. What? You. No. What? Oh.
Who? You.
Sorry, I just probably burst everyone's eardrums.
I think I have been the whole time, honestly.
After. I don't even know if I've heard of that. I'll have to do some research. But anyways, going back to the main and all of that sort of thing. So, the lore behind this sweatshirt.
Wait, what one were you? Oh, you didn't have one.
What?
So, you didn't have one?
Oh, sorry. Tell
me.
One Direction
Who did you like?
member. I'm trying to remember. I know this much. I know I didn't like Louis. Sorry.
No, yeah. I get
Niall
that.
was fine.
It was
Liam was
it was the black and
fine.
white striped shirts that really threw me off.
Oh, it was his voice.
Oh, that's
for
fair.
me. Sorry, not to be a hater.
There's something he can't change.
The like number one killer of relationships is criticizing things that the other person can't change in the moment, and I just destroyed him.
Oh my gosh. Moose is like, let me talk about One Direction.
Here's Moose. Hi, Moose. So I think I remember really liking Harry and Zayn, but I don't know that I had just like a one favorite.
Got it.
To be honest with you.
That's
so. Anyways, back to the main. This sweatshirt has some history behind it. But anyways, friends that I mentioned that I've met through the main. I've met a lot of friends through the main, through the fandom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I also hate the word fandom. I feel like it's become so like, if you're part of the fandom, I don't know. Maybe it's just,
I think I'd rather say that than have like a dumb name. Like, never mind. Oof, I almost got so much hate.
Oh, no, I want to know now.
No.
Come on, do a hot take.
Okay, I guess I'll just use this as an example. Remember when Doja Cat had issues because everyone was calling themselves like like her kittens or kitties or whatever, and she's like, "That's stupid. If you call yourself that, you're not actually my fan." And I'm like, you know what? She's real for that. She was a little off her rocker, but that's valid.
Yeah. No, it's some of them are kind of weird. No, I'll use I don't know why I'm so against the word fandom. It just feels I guess it just reminds me. I associate it with, well, yeah. But I just associate it with like being young and being like, well, you're part of a fandom and like you're like a fandom person, whatever.
Oh, I was reading stuff on fanfiction.net. I think I've gotten over it pretty fast for me.
Anyways, all beside the point. I have a lot of friends of varying levels of like closeness that I've met through the 8123 community, through the fan base of the main, whatever you want to call it. I have a few very close friends that I'm very fortunate to have met through the fan base, and also have like met and hung out with and spent time with and traveled with in person, which is really special. And
so
two
cool.
of them are flying here to drive with me to Phoenix instead of just flying into Phoenix and meeting me there at Fest next week. So I'm very excited about that. And the two that happen to be coming with me, Mariah and Ashley, they've both visited me in San Diego before. I've visited them in the places that they live. They haven't seen my new apartment yet, so that's exciting. And just like, it's just really fun because, there are so many great things about being part of a fan base, and like, I never would have met these people.
Yeah.
I never would have known them. I never would have shared experiences and part of our lives together. Like, had we not happened to like the same band. And I think that's really cool. And that's just part of
like a sense of community for sure.
Yeah, it's such a sense of community.
That's why I love working in sports.
Yeah.
Because I get that
Yes,
in
we
that.
talked about this.
I know. I just need to find, I think it's hard for certain things because when you go to a concert, that's such like a group, like sharing activity where it's, I'm reading a book. I'm not doing that with anyone else. There's not anything. It's very like,
I mean, that's what book clubs are for, but obviously those aren't like as,
I know.
And like, you're not usually experiencing the thing that you're a fan of together, because you can read alongside someone, but it's not like you guys are like reading aloud to each other, you know? Like,
oh my God, popcorn reading. I sit there, just one other like person and popcorn.
Okay, Amanda, your turn. Met them 2 minutes ago. Anyways, so those are like great things, obviously, about fan bases. Yeah. And I am very fortunate that I have these friends. And so this sweatshirt, the Crewneck Crew, which is like, there's 6 of us total, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So 5 others that I met and we became really close. And it started in October of 2021. Ooh. That was one of the big shows that the main had coming off of the pandemic. So they had not had a show in a couple of years. Their first one back, I believe, was like August of that year in Phoenix. And a few people, like some 8123 people traveled for that, but not everyone did. I did. I had like a wedding in LA or something. So I like drove to Phoenix for the show. Fucking left the next day for the bachelorette part. It was nuts.
Oh, wow.
But so I met a couple of the future Crewneck Crew.
Very good.
In Phoenix in August of 2021. Met a couple of them there. And then a lot more people were traveling out for whatever reason for the LA show in October. And so I drove to that one, obviously, and had a couple of friends that I'd already met that were going to be there. So we were going to hang out. And then there were other ones that I hadn't yet met that happened to be hanging out together too. And it just so happened that 5-6 of us all hit it off, and we wound up, what really solidified it was like we were at the show mostly all together, and we went to merch after or before or whatever and saw this crew neck, and like a couple of us joked about buying it. We were like, oh, emotional department, like that's dumb, ha ha ha. And we were joked, we were like, what if we all got matching crew necks? So we all bought the same crew neck.
Oh.
And that's kind of what started it. And I actually wasn't going to stay. I was staying the night of the show. The show was in Hollywood. And I stayed that one night, but I was going to go home the next day. But then it turned out like everyone was still hanging out the next day. So we all hung out. We went to the band Camino, who was opening for someone at that time, and now they're like headlining their own shit.
Oh yeah,
But they were opening for Dan and Shay at like Staples Center.
Oh my gosh.
Now Crypto.com Arena. But they were opening at Staples Center, and so like we all like last minute decided to go to that together. And we just like we mostly spent that day together, and then we hung out at one of the Crewnet Crew girls' house that night, her apartment.
Oh my gosh. I love girlhood.
And we all just like hung out, and we had like a dumb little sleepover, and I drove 2 of the friends to the airport first thing in the morning, and then I drove back to San Diego myself. But like it just was this totally spontaneous little group that came together and hung out and like went to a couple shows together, and we had the best time. And just 3 of us lived in California at that point, and the other 3 lived on all other different parts of the country.
Oh my gosh.
And now just 2 of us live in California. But we still like we travel to shows in different places that we don't live, and sometimes meet up. Sometimes we go to each other's like home cities and like see each other. Like just last December, I went to Ohio to visit one of them, and most of not all of us, but like the 5 out of 6 of us came out to it. It was just like
that's so cool.
It's so special, and it's become like this sweet little crew. And like again, we did this dumb photo shoot the night after, I think, that we bought these crew necks, and that's what kind of started like the Crewnet Crew.
Oh my god.
I don't know, maybe one of us dubbed us that, or like someone else did in the fan. I don't know. It was just again very spontaneous, and like a couple of the photos actually were used like by the people who run the merch for the main
stop
on like social
no
media.
Way.
Yeah, it was a joke a little bit. Like there were a couple posts that like the band made or like the merch team made, like using us to advertise the crew neck, which was really funny. And that was like the highlight of like we were like, oh cool,
you made it.
We make a little group. Look at us. But again, just like fun parts of a fan base. And yeah, I have this little group of like close friends. Like we have a group text, and we talk as often as we can, depending on like how busy life is and how overwhelming things are for each of us. But we stay in contact constantly. And next week I will be going to my second 8123 Fest with this group of friends. This is my, I think, just 3rd 8123 Fest overall. The first one I went to actually with my boyfriend when we were early on in dating, and I'd never been to 8123 Fest before, so I didn't want to go by myself, and he went with me. And I didn't really meet any friends there that time because I just kind of like kept to myself. I didn't know anyone really in the fan base at that time, besides a couple people I went to college with actually that happened to be fans also. But I'm excited because I get to go to this like really just fun event where I already have a bunch of friends, and I always meet new ones. And it's a really cool part of being in a fan base. There are really great things about being in a fandom. There are really not so great things about being in a fandom. And anyone who's in 8123 as part of the community, as a fan, knows there has been so many dumb pieces of drama depending on what era we're in, depending on whether we're in a pandemic, whether we're not in a pandemic. I mean, there's just like, there's so much, and some of the drama is valid sometimes, and most of the time it's just not, because people, again, like to your point, like just, it's just like we complain about things just to complain about things, and we're just sharing our opinions because we have the ability to, and everyone thinks that other people's opinions are about them and mean something to them.
And so like your taste in music is going to be different than someone else's, or your taste in books is going to be different than someone else's, and that's okay. We can all like different things. We can all like different things about different stuff. Like if that's the whole thing of like, even from a book series to an album, like there's going to be certain, I might think one book is better. Someone might think one song is better, but it doesn't mean that we can't all enjoy it at the same time. And just like,
well, and like the discourse over like favorite album or favorite book is like one thing, but I'm talking like discourse over like how the band is handling a situation, and how they haven't addressed this thing, but they've addressed this other thing, and like, and like, look, at the end of the day, they are people. This is their job. There's just been
separate the art from the person as well to an extent.
Yeah, to an extent, for sure.
And also, they don't owe you anything. They don't owe you anything.
They don't owe us anything, and that's again, I think, a specific problem with the mains fan base in general, is they have given us so much, and they've given us so much more than a lot of other bands will,
and they're giving you them too, like putting themselves out there on stage, where it's like,
well, I just mean the like the proximity of they give us,
but even
so much, and they think about their fans so much in the way that they do almost everything, in their career, and that just further like fuels this fire of fans thinking that they're entitled to everything and entitled to every response and entitled to every reaction, and it's a double-edged sword,
100%.
which all fandoms are, but there are some really great things and some really annoying things. But at the end of the day, it's about community, and I think fandoms are really a great space to find other people, just simply to find other people that have interests that you do. And like,
just be safe.
Being a sports fan is also being in a fandom. So any fucking dude bros out there that are like, oh, well, fandom people are not. You're in you wear a jersey.
Yeah.
As Ken would
You're
say,
also
as my
nerd.
boyfriend would say.
You're in cosplay.
I put on a costume.
Yeah.
That other men are wearing to play a sport in their particular costume.
They're
and I wear
literally
that costume
cosplaying.
and I root for them.
Yeah.
Everything is a fandom. And
Everything's
stop
a
shitting on
fandom.
other people for the
Love
fandoms
it.
they're a part of.
Amen. Well, thank you so much for listening to us rant about fandoms. I would love to talk about it more, maybe even figure out your Harry Potter house on here. Maybe do some like, I'll introduce you to like specific fandom stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be kind of
down.
fun. Cool.
I'm down if you're down.
Ooh, I'm down.
Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of Barely Holding On. Follow us on everything at Barely Holding On Pod. Send us a freaking email.
Yeah.
We want some freaking emails.
Yeah, let us know what you think about the set change, and then hopefully we'll have some guests on here as well.
Yeah, we want to start doing guests soon. So
yes.
Look out for that probably in the next 2 or 3 episodes or so. Start getting guests on. That'll be fun.
Yeah. All right. Well,
see you next time.
bye, guys.
Bye.